Showing on Law Weekly today, Nigeria and South African lawyers set up a forum to advance global best practices in the administration of justice and boost trade in both countries and on the African continent. Plus our weekly recap of the top legal stories in the news. And in our interview segment, we chat with the former chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association section on business law, Mr. George Atomi, on the power sector and some of the issues from there. Hello and welcome to the program. I am Shola Shieli. The Nigerian legal profession believes that it should be at the forefront of leading discourse on the African continent on issues of safety, security, access to justice, and even poverty reduction. To this end, some members of the Nigerian Bar Association, led by the president of the bar, Augustine Alege SAN, recently visited some law firms and justice sector institutions in South Africa for a legal service trade mission. Our South African Bureau Chief, Betty Dibia, reports that the Nigerian lawyers and their South African counterparts explored ways of advancing global best practices in the administration of justice and also discussed how to boost trade in both countries and on the African continent.
States with poorly functioning legal systems and poor crime control are generally considered to be unattractive to investors, and so identifying and promoting best practices in the administration of justice on the continent is what brought this group together.
The essence of this event is to create room for Nigerians who are interested in doing business in South Africa to get a clear understanding and know where the opportunities lie. And for South African businesses who want to go to Nigeria to also have similar scope in respect of Nigeria.
Nigerian businessmen and other individuals who have practical experiences on some of the challenges spoke out about issues of immigration, labor, and other laws, discrimination, and even the xenophobic attacks.
The critical thing is that the immigration laws in South Africa are very drastic, and so many Nigerians can't even get their heads around it.
The representatives of the South African Ministry of Trade are, however, quick to explain the investor protection laws available. They also say that the move to reduce borders on the African continent is currently being implemented.
It is in our interest as Africans to see the continent develop and prosper.
This whole notion of borders, we all know that it was as a result of colonization. But we also have to admit to the fact that there are socio-economic challenges that are plaguing not only South Africa, but the rest of the world, including Africa.
At the end of this session, the participants agreed to inaugurate a Niger-South Africa Lawyers Forum to share expertise on addressing the issues.
We expect that one of the steps that will help drive the process of sorting out the problems, obstacles to establishing business, obstacles to getting work permits, obstacles to getting resident permits, obstacles to repatriating capital.
To facilitate this cooperation, we have talked about exchange of personnel, we have talked about exchange of information, we have talked about the need to ensure that we know our voices on the continent are unified when it comes to issues of talking about good governance on the continent, human rights, rule of law, and the like.
The Nigerian lawyers also visited law firms and key justice institutions in South Africa with a view to identifying best practices and sharing policy framework relevant to Nigeria.
Some of the reforms that we've heard, the key officers in the Constitutional Court and the Supreme Court speak about, and the officers from the Office of the Chief Justice of South Africa. My Lord, the Honourable the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Honourable Justice Mohammed Jisuran, has certainly gone very, very far in these areas, talking about areas of court automation, talking about the National Judicial Council, the way it's structured, how we do our performance evaluation, and those kind of issues. So I'm very proud of our judiciary.
The side effects of having a very wide jurisdiction for the Supreme Court in Nigeria is that you have matters coming from 36 states and all the small courts, lower courts, Court of Appeal, I don't know how many we have divisions, all converging on the Supreme Court. So I think that is my takeaway. We need perhaps to have a change in the constitution. So I don't know, the National Assembly, whenever they get to amending the constitution again. That is definitely an area that needs urgent tinkering with.
Welcome back from South Africa. Let's do a recap now of some of the top legal stories that we are tracking from the courts.
We begin with the report that the President of the Senate, Dr. Bukola Saraki, has, for the second time, asked the chairman of the Code of Conduct Tribunal to disqualify himself from hearing the charges of false declaration of assets filed against him. In a motion filed by his lead counsel, Mr. Agabi is seeking the disqualification of the chairman of the tribunal, Mr. Danladi Omar, because of the statement he made on the 7th of June when he said he was not happy at the delayed tactics by the defense counsel and that the delayed tactics will not reduce the consequences the defendant will receive from the tribunal at the end of his trial. The Senate President has accused the chairman of the tribunal of bias and of being in a hurry to convict and jail him without giving him fair hearing or ample opportunity to defend himself. From the tribunal, we move to the Court of Appeal, also in Abuja. Last week, Wednesday, the court ruled that the continued detention of the immediate past National Security Advisor, retired Colonel Sambo Dasuki, since December 29, 2015, did not flout the court orders granting him bail. The judgments of the appeal court was one of two separate appeals filed by Colonel Dasuki against the rulings of Justice Hussein Baba Yusuf of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory in Maitama, Abuja, and Justice Adeni Yademola of the Federal High Court, Abuja. Dasuki, through his lawyer, Mr. Joseph Daudu, SAN, wanted the appeal court to make an order prohibiting all prosecuting agencies of the federal government from further trying him pending when they will release him from detention. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, is set to arraign a former aviation minister and spokesman of the Goodluck Jonathan campaign organization, Chief Femi Fani-Kayode, on Tuesday. He will be arraigned before Justice Sule Hassan of the Federal High Court sitting in Lagos over an alleged 1.5 billion naira fraud. Last week, the EFCC had filed a 17-count charge against Chief Femi Fani-Kayode, a former Minister of Finance, Senator Nanade Usman, a firm, Joint Trust Dimensions Limited, one Danjuma Yusuf, and another, Olubode Oke, set to be at large, are also charged alongside Chief Fani-Kayode. The EFCC has also arraigned a former Special Assistant on Domestic Affairs to former President Goodluck Jonathan, Dudafa Waripamo Owe. Dudafa and one Iwejo Joseph Unna were arraigned on a 23-count charge bordering on fraud. They have pleaded not guilty to the charges. Their lawyers have cited certain provisions of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act and the 1999 Constitution as amended to make a case for them to be admitted to bail. The EFCC prosecutor, Mr. Rotimi Uyedepo, has however vehemently opposed the bail application. He told the court that the two defendants are a flight risk who would not show up for trial if granted bail. The counsel instead asked the court to order an accelerated hearing of the case. And we round off on the foreign scene where South African Paralympian Oscar Pistorius is back in court for his sentencing hearing after a conviction for the murder of his girlfriend, River Steenkamp. In a case that continues to attract worldwide interest, the 29-year-old faces a minimum 15-year term for the Valentine's Day killing in 2013. During closing arguments on his sentencing hearing, his lawyer asked the gold medalist to walk on his stumps to demonstrate the vulnerability and difficulty he faced dealing with the threat of an intruder. The athlete was originally sentenced to 5 years for manslaughter, but the conviction was upgraded to murder on appeal. He will be sentenced on July 6.